Kathy Hilton has masterfully crafted an image of herself as the ultimate lady, sweet, gracious, above the drama. The woman who floats into Beverly Hills scenes, spreading positivity and mediating conflicts. But that carefully constructed persona is exactly that, a construction. Because when you dig beneath the surface, when you look at testimony from former employees, revelations from family members, and most damning of all, Paris Hilton's own words about what happened to her as a teenager, a very different picture emerges. This is the evil side of Kathy Hilton. Let's start with what's happening right now. On March 6, 2026, just days ago, Kathy Hilton was sued by a woman named Kimberly Heffington, who claims she was permanently injured while visiting Kathy's $28 million Bear Mansion. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, Heffington alleges that on August 25, 2024, during an estate sale Kathy hosted at her property, her foot got stuck between uneven pavement, causing her to violently fall to the ground. The lawsuit states that Heffington suffered severe and permanent injuries, including a complex medial meniscus tear to her right knee. She claims there were no warning or safety signs to indicate additional care needed to be taken on the pavement. Heffington is seeking reimbursement for all medical bills, plus an unspecified amount of damages. Now, here's what's particularly interesting about this lawsuit. The estate sale required guests to pay a $25 donation to charity to gain access. Kathy promoted it as a way to shop designer items from the Hilton family while supporting the Los Angeles Mission and Yogi's House LA Dog Rescue. The sale was held within the ballroom, lounge, terrace, and tennis court of Kathy's property. According to information posted about the event, there was fully armed security and surveillance on site, and guests were warned that no purses, backpacks, or strollers would be permitted. So Kathy took extensive precautions to protect her belongings and prevent theft. Armed security, surveillance cameras, strict rules about what guests could bring. But according to the lawsuit, she didn't bother putting up a simple warning sign about dangerous, uneven pavement that ultimately caused someone permanent injury. That tells you everything you need to know about Kathy's priorities. I would protect the designer handbags. The people attending can fend for themselves. On March 12, 2026, just 6 days after the lawsuit news broke, Kathy showed another side of herself on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. During Season 15, Episode 13, the cast was in Italy for a group dinner when tensions erupted between newcomer Amanda Francis and Dorothy. Amanda had previously commented on how Dorrit publicly talks about her ex-husband PK, suggesting it could make her life harder during their divorce proceedings. The ladies debated whether Amanda was genuinely trying to look out for Dorit or overstepping. And that's when Kathy decided to put Amanda in her place. "You know what it is?" Kathy began. "I think when somebody doesn't know someone, you got to learn to read the room and know your place. Know your place. Let that sink in." Kathy Hilton, not born into wealth and married into even more wealth, told a self-made therapist and businesswoman to know her place. The entitlement dripping from that statement is breathtaking. This wasn't gentle mediation. This was Kathy pulling rank and reminding Amanda of the social hierarchy. "You're new here. I'm Kathy Hilton. Know your place." When Amanda later brought up how Dor had dug back through 357 blog posts to find a 14-year-old post about Amanda's past experience with a cult, Kathy jumped in again. "Well, if I was annoyed with somebody, I'd do a deep dive," Kathy remarked in Dorrit's defense. So cyberstalking and dragging up someone's trauma from over a decade ago is perfectly acceptable to Kathy as long as you're annoyed with them. Good to know. Erica Jane loved the moment. If Kathy Hilton, who is a beautifully put-together woman, tells you to read the room and know your place, baby, Erica said in a confessional. Now, even Jennifer Tilly was shocked. In this moment, Kathy is voicing what everybody is thinking. But Kathy's the one who says it, which is really surprising because Kathy is usually the peacemaker. Jennifer noted that's the thing about Kathy's carefully cultivated peacemaker image. It only extends to people she views as her equals or superiors. When someone she sees as beneath her social status dares to speak up, the mask slips, And what you see underneath is someone who genuinely believes in a hierarchy where people need to know their place. This isn't new behavior. This is who Kathy has always been, according to people who've worked for her. In Jerry Oppenheimer's book, House of Hilton, multiple former Hilton hotel employees went on record about Kathy's treatment of staff. Peggy Yakov, a former Hilton hotel staff member, told Oppenheimer that Kathy and hubby Richard Hilton set a bad tone for their kids. Kathy and Rick and the girls looked down their noses at the help and were very judgmental. Yakov said Paris and Nikki were running loose in the hotel, were always trouble, and the mother always seemed to be coaching them. Yakov added that Kathy was absolutely pushy, arrogant, condescending, and presumptuous, and Paris picked that up from her. Another hotel manager told Oppenheimer that despite the Hilton family tradition of never giving special treatment in their own hotels, Kathy constantly tried to override it. She would demand special suites, call for various comforts, and expect childcare. Richard would allegedly begin with, "We like a nice California red wine and something white. And my wife likes seafood." Then they'd ask for childcare. The hotel staff reportedly had a habit of running the other way when they saw Kathy coming. Allegedly, if she didn't get her way, she would say, "Do you know who we are? Do you know who I am?" That phrase, the ultimate Karen move, pulling rank based on her last name and social status rather than treating service workers with basic human dignity and respect. This is a pattern that goes back decades. It's not reality TV persona, it's who she is. But the entitled behavior towards staff, as ugly as it is, pales in comparison to what Kathy did to her own daughter. And this is where the evil side of Kathy Hilton becomes truly dark. In September 2020, Paris Hilton released a YouTube documentary called This Is Paris, where she revealed for the first time that she'd been sent to a series of boarding schools for troubled teens as a teenager, culminating in 11 months at Provo Canyon School in Utah. Paris alleged that at Provo Canyon School, she was verbally, mentally, and physically abused on a daily basis. She was cut off from the outside world and stripped of all her human rights. She claimed she was choked, slapped across the face, spied on while showing, and deprived of sleep. In her 2023 memoir, Paris the Memoir, she provided even more horrifying details, describing being dragged out of her bed in the middle of the night by two men repeatedly strip-searched and force-fed drugs intended to dull my wits and make me comply. In testimony before Congress in June 2024, Paris stated she was force-fed medications and sexually abused by staff at 4 different residential institutions. She described being beaten, spat on, subjected to cervical exams in the middle of the night, and forced into solitary confinement. 6 former students who spoke to Fox News corroborated Paris's claims, sharing their own stories of suffering or witnessing physical and mental abuse, including forced medications, beatings, solitary confinement, and bullying by staff. Now, here's the part that reveals Kathy's true character. Paris says that when she tried to tell her parents what was happening, the school staff told her, "We're just going to tell your parents you're a liar and they're not going to believe you." And Paris was terrified they were right. The staff would disconnect phone calls between students and families when students started talking about what was really going on. If a student wrote about it in a letter, the staff destroyed the letter. Paris attended Provo for 11 months from age 17 until her 18th birthday in 1999, when she was finally released. She has said publicly that the only thing that saved her sanity was thinking about what I wanted to do and who I wanted to become when I got out of there. I was going to do everything in my power to be so successful that my parents could never control me again. Think about that. Paris Hilton's entire drive to become successful, to build her brand, to achieve financial independence, came from a place of wanting to ensure her parents could never send her back to a place where she was allegedly abused, drugged, and assaulted. Her motivation wasn't fame or fortune for its own sake. It was survival and autonomy. So, how has Kathy responded to learning what her daughter allegedly endured with denial, deflection, and a refusal to engage? In the This Is Paris documentary, there's a scene where Paris finally tells Kathy some of what happened. They were constantly being abusive in every way, Paris says. Kathy looks shell-shocked and begins to cry. But she says later that she only watched the trailer of the documentary, not the full film. When Kathy finally became aware of what it was like in Utah, she told Bustle, "I kept thinking to myself, why wouldn't she say something? Why would she not say something? I also got into such a depression. I didn't want to talk to Paris about it too much until I had talked to a therapist." Notice how Kathy makes it about her own feelings, her depression, her confusion, not her daughter's trauma. Paris has revealed that she struggles to discuss the abuse allegations with her mother. On her Peacock series, Paris in Love, Paris told her brother Barron that she hasn't been able to discuss her time at the school with her mom, and doesn't believe she'll be able to bring it up to her mom in the future. "Mom is just so fun and chill. She doesn't really like to get serious," Paris explained. "I've never really had a serious, deep conversation about things like that. She doesn't like to think about that." Paris's mother changes the subject every time Paris tries to bring up her boarding school trauma. Fox News reported in November 2021 that Paris said Kathy doesn't like to get serious and prefers to keep things light in their relationship rather than confront what happened. They apparently have not talked about Paris's experience there, opting instead to keep things light. They don't like talking about things, really. "You know how Mom is. Mom is just so fun and chill, and she doesn't really like to get serious. I've never really had a serious, deep conversation about things like that. She doesn't like to think about bad things." On the rare occasions when they do discuss it, Kathy explains that they enrolled Paris at the schools to save her. She says it with absolute certainty. Even now, knowing how it all went so wrong, Paris writes in her memoir, "You would do the same. Not in a million years, I think. But I don't say that out loud. Let's be very clear about what this means." Kathy Hilton sent her teenage daughter to a facility where Paris alleges she was drugged, beaten, sexually abused, and psychologically tortured for 11 months. When Paris finally spoke publicly about this alleged abuse decades later, Kathy's response was to avoid discussing it, change the subject whenever it comes up, and when forced to address it, insist she was trying to save Paris and that any parent would have done the same. That's not accountability. That's not remorse. That's not even an apology. It's justification and deflection. "Paris doesn't hold grudges against her parents," she said publicly, "because it wasn't their fault." No, because it wasn't their fault. Paris told Hollywood Life in 2020. They didn't know. But that statement came before Paris fully understood the extent of the alleged abuse she suffered. And it came before she realized her mother would never actually engage with what happened. To understand Kathy, you have to understand where she came from. Kathy's mother was Kathleen Richards, nicknamed Big Kathy. And according to Jerry Oppenheimer's House of Hilton, Big Kathy was a piece of work. She urged her 3 daughters, Kathy, Kyle, and Kim, to marry for money and do whatever was needed to make this happen. Big Kathy didn't care about rules. She believed that rules didn't pertain to her. And this is the way she brought up the girls. There were no rules for them either. And that's the way Kathy brought up Paris. The New York Times review of Oppenheimer's book described some of Big Kathy's alleged behavior. She allegedly began an affair with Ken Richards, and when his first wife, Evelyn, confronted her about it, Big Kathy drugged her, then crushed her ankle in a car door. Later, she tried to push Richards down a flight of stairs. When she was displeased with one of his daughters from a previous marriage, she allegedly fed the daughter a burger with a screw hidden inside of it. This is the woman who raised Kathy. A woman who allegedly drugged people, physically assaulted them, and fed children food with screws in it. Is it any wonder that Kathy grew up believing she was above rules? That she treated hotel staff with contempt? She sent her rebellious daughter to abusive facilities and then refused to discuss it. The pattern is generational. Big Kathy taught Kathy that rules don't apply to rich people, that marrying money is the ultimate goal, that you do whatever it takes to maintain your social status. And Kathy absorbed those lessons and passed them on to Paris. During Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 12, there was an incident in Aspen that almost ended Kathy's time on the show, according to Lisa Rinna. Kathy had a meltdown after leaving a nightclub and went on a rant about all the cast members. Raina claimed Kathy made hurtful comments about her sister Kyle Richards. Reports leaked alleging Kathy used a homophobic slur after a DJ refused to play Michael Jackson. Lisa Rinna, in her typical messy fashion, scorched earth on Kathy on social media. On October 21, 2022, Rinna reposted a screenshot of a meme that said, "Kathy to Lisa, you're the biggest bully in Hollywood. Me to Kathy, you're the mother that had her daughter kidnapped in the middle of the night, which led to her being abused, raped, and you never apologized to her when she confronted you about it." Now, Lisa Rinna is problematic in her own right, and weaponizing Paris's trauma was disgusting. But the core accusation that Kathy had Paris kidnapped in the middle of the night and sent to facilities where she was allegedly abused and raped, and that Kathy never apologized, is factually accurate, based on Paris's own public statements. Rinna faced massive backlash for bringing up Paris's trauma. Fans called her evil and said she crossed a line. But notably, Kathy never denied the substance of what Rinna said. She never said that's not what happened. She never said, "I did apologize to Paris." She just let it blow over and continued filming. In November 2025, Kathy and Rick Hilton's Bear home was burglarized. Rick called 911 around 11:48 p.m. to report that 3 thieves had accessed the property. The trio escaped before officers arrived. A spokesperson confirmed nobody was injured and said there was a break-in. "Everyone is fine." The burglary came months after Kathy's castmate, Teddy Mellenchamp, also had her Los Angeles home targeted, and the same month that Susan Strauss' home was broken into with all her luxury handbags stolen, including pieces from Hermes and Chanel. There's been a wave of celebrity home burglaries in Los Angeles, and the Hiltons were among the victims. What's interesting is the timing. Just 3 months before the March 2026 lawsuit from the estate sale injury, Kathy was holding an estate sale in August 2024, selling off designer items and family memorabilia. Then her home gets burglarized in November 2025, and now she's being sued for negligence because someone got hurt at that estate sale. It's been a rough stretch for Kathy's carefully maintained image. One thing Kathy does very well is use charity as a shield. The estate sale where Kimberly Heffington was allegedly injured. It was to benefit the Los Angeles Mission and Yogi's House LA Dog Rescue. Kathy frequently hosts charity events and fundraisers. She positions herself as a philanthropist and humanitarian. But here's the thing about performative charity. It doesn't erase your behavior toward individual human beings. You can raise millions for charity while treating your hotel staff like garbage. You can host fundraisers while refusing to acknowledge your daughter's trauma. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Rich people have been using charity as reputation laundering for centuries. It's a way to buy goodwill and social capital while never actually examining your own behavior or values, and Kathy is a master at it. Kathy Hilton's perfectly polished image hides decades of entitled behavior and a refusal to confront her daughter's alleged abuse. From hotel staff to housewives, the pattern is clear. Behind the charity galas and designer clothes is someone who genuinely believes some people need to know their place.